Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of the Here I Am podcast. I am your humble host, Anjay, also known as a dork who lifts on the Instagram and the TikToks. And here I have the artist formerly known as Hair Force One, Alex Bellamey, a good friend from Disney. Hi, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm honored to be on the 20th episode. It matches my age.
Yes, you don't look a day over 20, so please don't even ask. And especially with so I'm gonna be honest with you. I had to make sure I did my hair because I was like, I know who I was coming on with. And for those
You
of you
knew I
who
would
are,
bring the hair game.
oh my God, I had to match the energy. And here, oh,
Well,
here
it's funny
comes
because
Buddy.
I work from home most of the time now, so I did my hair
Oh,
just for
that's
this.
fancy.
My hair hasn't been done all day.
I don't believe you. I believe I picture you. Hi, Buddy. Hi, everyone who's watching. This is Buddy. He's my dog. He hears
We
me
love
talking on a
Buddy.
microphone, and he wants to say hello to everybody. And we do love Buddy. He's been he's been an extra good boy lately. I've been taking him out on walks, and I honestly wish that I could have his energy. So like since my dog Lily passed away, I uh
Mhm.
I was like, man, he's not getting the same exercise anymore because he all his exercise was coming from rough housing with her and running around with her.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so I started taking him for walks, but the only time I can walk him is like as soon as I get up. So I'm literally getting up and I'm letting him sleep. He's snoring knocked out. And then once I have like everything set up for me to go, I just yell out like, "Hey buddy, want to go for a walk?" Instant like zooms
Instant. Yeah.
in, ready to go. And I was like, I wish I could wake up like that. Just
Let
go
me see
from
if I
dead
can get
sleep.
my dog. Hey, Coda, come here. Come here. Let me see if I can get him to pop up.
Are you
Hey,
trying
come here.
to one up me on dog size right now?
We both need a dog in the frame right now.
No, that's true. He's like, Dad.
he
He's like, Dad,
he
fuck
was
off.
sleeping on my feet just now, and so I think he really didn't appreciate that. But he's getting camera time now too.
There you go. I love it. Um, so quick little backstory for everybody. As the last episode with Michelle, uh, I also worked with Alex at Disneyland, and he worked with Michelle as well. So we all kind of know each other.
Yeah,
So my first and probably most important question for you is, what did you think of me when you first met me?
I remember thinking, first of all, who is this man? Um, and that you
That's what a
pulled off
lot
the
of people.
pirate costume very
That's what
well.
a lot of people said. Who is this man?
Yeah,
To me after they first met me, and especially of yeah,
and then
and then
I remember after getting to know you more than just uh, ogling you from across the station. um, I got to know your energy, and I was like, this guy reminds me of he has Zach Braff energy, and
Zach, except a lot taller.
oh yeah, definitely a lot taller, absolutely. But yeah, I remember thinking, gosh, he's goofy and fun, and just brings this energy that I need to know this person.
Oh, that's really sweet of you. I remember that explains why whenever I worked and you were the lead, you were always just kind of hovering around. It all makes sense now. You were
Yeah,
quote unquote doing your job.
right.
Yeah. No, I remember I think the first time I met you, like I just learned pirates. And
Hmm.
so I was doing it, but
That's where I
also
lived nonstop at the time when you hired in. So
yeah,
it
I
was
mean that's
because
where
I
that
knew
was the
you knew Mansion before,
correct.
and I also know Mansion, but I don't think our paths ever crossed there until you learned Pirates.
Yeah, that's all I knew you as
Yeah,
was you worked pirates,
yeah,
and then you went to scheduling after that.
yeah. I
Um,
spent a lot of time there.
um, but so like I remember when I first met you, I was always kind of intimidated because I was just like I'm nervous working this attraction for the first couple times and still kind of getting my feel for it. But I had like a really distinct core memory of like one of our first interactions, and it was when I was in Tower,
Hmm.
and you came up and we just talked, and you were like, "What do you want to do here?" And
It was
then
near like around closing, right?
it was, yeah, I think we are cycling both
Yeah.
at the time. So
Hmm.
there was nothing to do except just
I
sit
think I
up there and
remember this
chill.
too. Yeah.
And then I remember I just told you like, yeah, this is what I want to do and everything like that. And you're like, and I was like, yeah, this is what I love about this place and all this stuff. And you were just like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, like I get it. And I was like, I remember when you told me that because I looked up to you because I know you've been there for at the time for like what's probably felt like for you forever.
Yeah.
Um, and I was just like, oh, cool. And it was just kind of like, I remember when I was first getting there and I was getting to meet cast members who were there for like a long time. And when I felt accepted, it was like me being with the cool kids.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, and I know, and I always tell people like Disney was always kind of like um glorified high school, like high school on
Absolutely.
steroids. You
I
know what
don't
I
think
mean?
I've ever met somebody that's worked there that won't describe it that way. It is
Well, and
that
like
high school energy, like the highs, the lows, like all of it.
and it makes sense if you think about it. I mean, you're getting a bunch of kids who are literally coming out of high school to work there, and then you're
Hmm.
mixing them
Yeah, I
with cast
started there
members.
pretty much the day I turned 18.
Yeah. Um, and then I always remember you in scheduling, and then when I got into like lead positions and stuff like that, I'd always go up to you and give you a hug whenever you were up there. Those were good times.
Yeah,
Um,
great hugs. If anyone
mhm.
has an opportunity to get a hug from this man, you take that opportunity.
I start getting mobbed like out of
I know.
random. Like, what the fuck? Hug me, damn it. I mean, I go to the gym a lot. I am working on my hugging. Um, I want to like, I was gonna delve in. I, I guess I told you before. I kind of make this up as we go along, just kind of see what the kind of
Yeah,
where the conversation kind of goes. But the last time you and I hung out, it was on a whim, and you and I went to like Laguna Beach. I was like, I'm gonna go to Laguna Beach, and then I went, you know who kind of lives near there? Alex does. I'm gonna see what you're
yeah.
doing.
Just a hop,
Um,
skip, and a jump away.
literally.
Yeah,
Except I really
and
should
about
have.
100,000 stairs.
That's pretty much where we went. And then we also
Yeah.
parked on. We also parked on like a super steep hill. And you were.
Hmm.
And I remember when we were leaving, you were like, "Can you just go get the car and come down to me? Because I'm dead." But then we got good
I was
pizza.
dying.
But
Yeah,
then
I
I
was dying, and then we had
but
pizza.
and it was like delicious pizza. So I mean,
Really good pizza.
uh,
Absolutely.
I would name the restaurant, but no free ads. You know,
Not sponsored.
it's busy enough down there, anyways.
Although it would
Um,
be a dream to be sponsored by a pizza place.
it really would, but I can't do that right now. Because I started doing like the 75 hard challenge again. And
Oh, that's rough.
well, I mean, like I did it pretty successfully the first time around.
Hmm.
And then, but what I've told a couple of people who have I told, I was like, I was like, I'm just really hoping that when I'm done with it, I have better life results because like literally right when it was like 2 weeks after I was done, actually like less than a week after I was done with that, I got into my car accident.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
So I
What a
went from
change of
like
pace.
I
Yeah.
literally went from like the highest of highs, feeling like amazing about life, best mental headspace I've ever been in. And then car gets totaled. I get a concussion. I still have
All the
like
fun.
burn scars, all the stress, all the
Yeah.
craziness. And like, and then, and then a couple months after that, Lily passes. And then it was just kind of like this like whirlwind of like,
Yeah.
it still is, to be honest with you. I'm still trying to be
Yeah.
like, what the F? But I was, and then I like how I'm making this podcast about me right now, but I, you know, you're my friend. I want to share my stuff with you. Um, And then
The
I had a
75 hard challenge for me is I feel 75, and that's hard and challenging.
it's just challenging to get out of bed every day.
You have no idea. Thank God I work so close to home. In fact, in my
So
home.
close. Yeah, I was gonna say so close to home that you're in it.
Yeah.
That's always fancy. So one of the things I've always been curious about, and we kind of had this discussion back then, which was like close to a year ago now, because my hair was a lot
Mhm.
longer then.
It
Um,
was.
it was, but I realized I hit a point where I was like, I felt like kind of like a douchebag with that long of hair, and I was just going like, all right, I gotta cut it. I don't, and like everyone's like, no, don't do it. We love it. I'm like, you may love it. I don't. So I'm gonna cut it.
If it's not
Uh
serving you, you let it go.
yeah, that's a whole other thing that I am horrible about. Um
Same.
yeah. Um but we when we talked we kind of talked about your mental health and
Mhm.
how you were kind of like confused because you were just sad, but you had no idea why you were sad and why you were depressed.
Yeah. I've made a lot of strides since then. I feel a lot better each and every day, and I'm very proud of the progress I've made, both with actually seeing a therapist and enjoying that experience. Because the first time around, I tried it, and it just I felt like it wasn't for me. And it's you got to find the right person to have that kind of connection with, and to get that kind of coaching from, and be also in the right place to take that advice and take that coaching. Um, so I came to that realization of like, I think this could really help me. And then I feel like I've made it like my personal mission to really destigmatize um, getting medicated. If you need it, it's not something you need to be ashamed about. It will change your life. And just like therapy, like starting an antidepressant or something for anxiety um, is kind of a battle. Not all of the medications work for people the right way. So you kind of need to do some trial and error and some adjustments. But once you find it, it's it's worth everything you went through to get there.
So can I ask you like what your whole process was? Because like I know like you talked to me and then I talked to you about using change your algorithm as like, hey, this is an option for free
Mm-hmm.
therapy, even though it's in the kind of like a group setting on over Zoom, which we're on right now. But
Yeah.
what was your process of like going like, I need to do something and then finding that resource or finding that like process of finding a therapist?
So um, it started with first getting health insurance, which if you have it and you're not using it, why? Please use your health insurance benefits if you have them. They are such a blessing, um, because not having them can make things so expensive. And that's where I was before. I didn't have decent coverage when I did have it. And then when I didn't have it, it was everything out of pocket. It's insane. But I started a new job. I really enjoy it. They have great benefits. I enrolled in their health packages. Um, and since then, it's all been about just making those improvements in both like mental and physical health. Um, and then also starting my new job, they offered um, a platform. I believe it's called Lyra. And it was literally free therapy sessions, one on one, through like almost like a Zoom call. It's built into an app. But the fact that they offered that for free just kind of blew my mind because therapy can
Yeah.
also be kind of expensive.
Well,
Um,
a lot of like health coverage plans, they either don't cover therapy at all, or if they do, the
mhm,
deductible is still pretty expensive. So the
right.
fact that you got lucky to find a company to that you're working for is going like that takes like mental health into account is amazing. And I'm
Yeah,
fucking so happy for you. That's awesome.
I'm blessed, absolutely blessed.
So you found your therapist through this app
Hmm. Yeah, so it's called Lyra, and
and
it's kind
and
of like in the realm of like BetterHelp and other platforms that are out there that can connect you with a therapist. This one just happened to be 100% covered by my employer, which like I was like, this can't be real, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah, it was.
that's insane. So was it now when you were going through your process of finding your therapist, was it like the first one that you found, it happened to just be like bang boom perfect, or did you have to go through a couple
The
of them?
first one I found on this platform um, was absolutely perfect, and I think the reason for that is they gave you several options, and you they all had personal bios and things about their life and their approach, um, so you can kind of get a synopsis of who they are before even meeting with them. I happened to meet with a therapist who was also in the LGBT community.
Mm,
We had a lot in common as far as like how we operate as individuals. It was just a really good fit. And between the fact that it was free from my employer and the fact that we hit it off very well right off the bat, I mean, I was very lucky for both of those
yeah.
things.
Well, I mean, like you
The
said
first,
before, you tried
yeah,
therapy before and it didn't.
exactly. I had this impression of therapy as being something for either like really like people who have had extreme traumas in either their youth or young adulthood, uh, or rich people with like too much money and not enough problems. That was my view of therapy. And I think a lot of that had to do with how therapy is portrayed on TV. You know, you get this rich person lying on the couch telling all their woes to this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
therapist who's just sitting there nodding, taking notes. It's like it's nothing like that. It's really
No, it's
nothing like
not.
that.
No, no,
Um,
not at all.
but the first time I had a therapist, um, it just felt very hands off, and he would just kind of send me home with photocopies of things he pulled out of books, which I get like wanting to get insight and some material, but it was like it didn't have anything to do with what we talked about, and it seemed like he was really like trying to focus on pinpointing something in my childhood to make me have this aha moment, and I'm like, I I had a a relatively normal decent upbringing. I didn't have any huge traumas in my childhood. I have more of a chemical imbalance and I need to learn how to deal with my stress. And like that
Yeah.
was never really like
You're never
something
really
that
getting anything out
he
of
took
it.
seriously. So it's like this isn't for me. And because of that, I thought therapy in general was not for me. And that's just it's not the case.
Yeah, I was kind of similar. So I went to therapy while I was working at Disney, and this was like I'm still trying to work on grieving my dad passing away, and then my mom's health was starting to go down, and I was just
Mm,
stressed out, and I was just so depressed all the time.
yeah.
And I was just like stressed out, and then like, I think like my cousin passed away too, and I was just like all over the place, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then so I go and I try to talk with this therapist, and I probably had like maybe like 3 or 4 sessions with her. And
I'd
like I
say I had
tried.
about the same.
Yeah, like I really tried, but it felt like she never listened to me. And then like even like especially like you come in and I would be like, I said this last week. Like, did you not?
Mm-hmm.
And I would see you writing notes. So are you like
Right.
looking at your
Just
notes before
scribbling
seeing
in little
something, right?
circles.
And then like and then like um or I felt like I was predicting every single thing she was about to say to me, and I would say it out loud,
Mhm.
like, you're probably gonna say this, that, or the other. And then she's like, yeah, I got nothing. And
Wow.
and then when I went and then when I went like and then when I went like hey, I put in my 2 weeks at Disney, and she goes, her first reaction was, well, bring me your resume and I will help you get a job. And I went, so your care is for me to keep buying sessions from you. You don't
Yeah.
give a fuck about this like at all. And then so I just kind of went, all right, I'm out. Like I
Yeah.
can't do this. And then that was my thought for therapy was like, all right, it's cool for some, but apparently like this is gonna sound like an asshole thing of me to say, but I was like, I felt like I was smarter than that therapist. And I was like,
Right.
I already had like the emotional intelligence to like do like that. Like I was just like, all right, well, I guess I just got to keep figuring out my own shit and deal with it on my own, because I literally tried to seek help and it didn't help. And it
Right.
was just kind of like it's hard to have that realization of like, just because something doesn't work once, it doesn't mean that you don't keep trying or don't keep doing it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
trying to
Which
find a
is, it's
therapist.
difficult to pull yourself out of that thought too, because we are so driven by what we already know and what we've already experienced that trying again is hard.
Yeah, just trying and like especially like you trying the first time, it takes a lot of courage just to go, I need help. And especially as men,
Mhm.
that's always like such like you're taught like, no, you got to deal with your shit on your own, deal with your shit on your own, deal with your shit on your own.
Right.
At least that's how I was brought up. And then like to even go like, okay, I fucking need help. And then um for that to fail. And then and then like a few years later, I tried again and I reached out to therapists and they didn't
Mhm.
reach back to me. And I was trying to go through
Wow.
like a company too, and they didn't reach back out. And I went, okay, I guess I failed there too. And then it wasn't until like a buddy of mine told me about change your algorithm to promote it for them as like a favor. And then he told me about it, and I went, well, fuck, if it's free, I'll try it. And then I
That
got very,
was that was exactly where I was. Like, I
yeah.
didn't have an excuse not to try it again because I had
Oh,
access to it.
yeah. And for me, like I knew that I needed it. Like
Mhm.
I knew I needed it. I just didn't know how to go about it. Um, and then like I had one of my friends is a therapist, and I was like, I just wish that you could be my therapist, like because I trust you already. We already have a rapport.
I
And
think I
she
saw
was,
her on your podcast, right?
no, no,
No,
no, she hasn't
somebody
been on.
else.
She hasn't been on.
Okay.
Um, and but it was like it was she's like, I can't, it's like not ethical, like I can't work with, I can't have a client that I personally already know.
Personally, no. Yeah, it
And
makes
I went,
sense.
and I was like, yeah, I get it, I get it. I was like, but damn it, like I wish. But then it was like one of those things where I did the change your algorithm, and then like the first class I took, it was like one of those, wow, that was exactly what I needed to hear.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And you just kind of go, oh, okay. And so I've been like doing that ever since, and it's helped me a lot, but it's still, even, being in therapy, it's still, you know, it still takes a lot of work, and it still doesn't mean that you're not gonna have like your shitty days or anything like that.
Right. Yeah, therapists don't fix your problems. They give you the tools to better handle them yourself. So I think a lot
Yeah.
of people have that mentality of like, well, I need to speak to this person because then my life will be better, and
Well, in a sense
you're
it
not going to get
will.
what you're looking for there. But
In a sense it will, if you take the tools given to you and put them to
got to
use
do
and
the work.
practice them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes that's a pain in the ass, and some, like, I know for me some days, like I've had a lot of suicidal ideations coming back,
Hmm.
and I keep trying to remember gratitude and trying to remember to be kind to myself. But that doesn't mean it always
It is so
works.
hard in those moments when like all you're focused on is going to sleep and thinking like, God, wouldn't it be great to not wake up tomorrow? Because
Yeah.
I was there, and it's awful and it's terrifying.
Well, that's when I made that TikTok. I made a TikTok like a week ago, and it took off because a lot of people related to it, and a lot of people were really scared for how dark that thought was. But I probably had
Yeah,
that thought. But the and for those who don't know, it was I just said tired of waking up every single day wishing that I hadn't. But I keep doing
exactly right.
everything that I can to fight these monsters in my head, but I don't know how much longer I can go.
Yeah,
And
and I think honestly, that's where medication really stepped in for me. And like I said, I want to do everything I can to kind of destigmatize um, taking medication that benefits your mental health. Please, if you have access to it, explore that option.
so when you started taking medication, did it like what was your process through it? Was it like first dosage, right dosage, first med, right med, or have you
No.
had to try you've had to tinker around with it?
Yeah, definitely. So the first dosage initially felt right and hit this plateau, and then I crashed really hard. And I knew something wasn't right. They told me you might feel this way. If you do, please reach out. And then the dosage changed, felt a little better, not where I should be. I was on the right track.
So you
So
were
I actually
feeling
I mhm.
so you were feeling better, but like I guess my question would be, how do you know what you're supposed to feel like?
Oh, I don't know.
Right? Right? Like that's
I
like
don't
the
know. But it's funny now after getting like working through all the kinks of which medication to take and the dosage and that whole song and dance. Once that was worked out, I've been having moments. I've been talking to my boyfriend about them, like um, when I started my job and in previous jobs I had. Um, when the phone would ring, my stomach would just drop because I don't know what's waiting on the other end of that phone for me.
yeah.
And this was literally every single time I would take a call. I'm like, I felt literally my stomach fall to my feet, and it felt like I was gonna throw up, and I just like power through it. And I was telling him this was just like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I don't feel that anymore, and it's
That's awesome.
like it's amazing. And he's like, that's what people usually feel is like not that sense of fear and dread anytime something happens. And I'm like, I've been missing out on this for a very long time and just trying to push myself harder to get through it and ask myself those questions of like, why are you the way that you are? Um, when it's something you can't really control, if it's something related to a chemical imbalance in your brain. I mean, I could have benefited from this since I was like 16, and it was recommended when I was that age. And I had this stigma about antidepressants that were like, oh, well, if I take these, I'm going to be a zombie. And I considered
Yeah,
myself an
same.
artist, a creative person. And I was like, I don't want to not feel my feelings. And that's just like, it's not how it works. I mean, you just like, I hate the term normal, but like I feel normal.
No, so like for me, I had a major stigma about medication too, and then my issue is like I in theory have health insurance, but I can't afford copay. I have health
Hmm.
insurance because it's required by law in the state of California to have health insurance, but
Right.
I can't really use it, right? Because it'll cost me too much and I can't afford it. So, um, but years ago when I had health insurance, and I went to go get checked out because like I was gaining weight like no other, and it didn't, and I was like, I don't understand. I'm depressed. I'm stressed. I'm like maybe something's wrong with like my thyroid. I thought maybe my testosterone levels were shot or something.
I thought the
And
same thing. I went
and
and
they
had testosterone levels checked and everything.
yeah, and then so they went um their first suggestion was, well, do you exercise? Maybe you should try exercising. And I was like, the fuck do I look like to you? Like, the hell? Like, do I look like a guy who doesn't work out? Like that was like it was like it took and when I lost weight, I had like a major eating disorder, and that just brought all that
Mhm.
shit back. Like body
Yeah.
dysmorphia came through the roof right then. And I was like, I fucking work out like 6 days a week. Like, what the fuck do you mean maybe you should work out? Like, bro, what the hell?
I feel like that's the problem a lot of people have with doctors is they come in feeling unwell, and the first thing their doctors want to say to them is, well, did you know you're fat?" Like,
So when I was fat, that was the comment I got all the time. And I was like,
yeah.
my peak fatness in high school on record was 386 pounds, right?
Mhm.
And the comment that I would get from nurses, you said, and doctors was like, you're fat, right? Like this can be bad. And I'm like, yeah, I know I'm fat, but then like in my head, I would rationalize a bunch of different things. I'd be like, well, I don't
Sure.
waddle or whatever. Like I had like my own like, it's fine, I'm young. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But so then when they were so the first thing they proposed outside of maybe you should exercise is, well, do you want an antidepressant? And in my head was like, I'm already gaining weight, and my thought on antidepressants were they make you gain weight. Like that's the side effect from
Some of
antidepressants. And
them
I was
do,
like,
yeah.
yeah. And so I'm like, I don't, I'm already freaking out about the weight I'm gaining out of nowhere to you're gonna put me on something to make me gain more weight. I was like, can we like do some blood work or something? And then
Hmm.
they went, okay, we'll give you blood work. And then they went, and then they went, oh, it looks like you have hypothyroidism. And I went, oh, okay, cool, a solution, but like you need to take another test, or we need to send this over to a specialist to confirm it.
Hmm.
And then the specialist went, you're missing a result, so you have to take the test again. So then I take the test again, and then they go, no, you're fine. And then I was like, then I tried telling them like, well, I'm dealing with this, and this. This doesn't make sense. And then they go, have you tried exercising? And I'm like, you lost me. You lost me. Done. Got to get out. So like, you know, lesson is now that I know now is like, like trying like finding a right therapist. You also have to find the right doctor. They're not
Yeah.
gonna listen to you, or they're not really gonna take into account like this is what you're thinking. Like I didn't want something to be pushed on to me. I wanted it to be like, hey, let's figure out these solutions. And then for me to have like meds brought up to me, I would rather have a psychiatrist who who knows like the brain and how these antidepressants like work and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's their
That's when
specialty.
my life really changed, is when I went from just getting some pills tossed at me from a primary care physician, which was great that he was willing to kind of go that route with me and listen to me. But I wanted to try some kind of medication that would benefit my mental health. But when I went from seeing a primary care physician to treat anxiety and depression to seeing a psychiatrist to regulate the medication, that's when it happened.
Yeah, and then so that's been my biggest like thing. Like I haven't like so the therapist that I see in like Change Your Algorithm, who did have on the podcast, she is a psychiatrist, but like it's also at the same time, it's like we're not in a one-on-one situation. Like I don't think she can
Mm-hmm.
actually like diagnose me and actually like give me meds or like prescribe meds or anything like that. But I think for me now, I am more open to the idea of meds than I probably have ever been beforehand.
Yeah.
Um, but looking back at like when I did like when I was doing like the 75 hard challenge, like I literally hit a point where I actually felt happiness for the first time. And outside of like happy moments in life
Hmm.
where it was just like, oh, I'm with this person, I'm really happy, or I'm doing this one little thing and I'm really happy, and then it kind of goes back into like a gray area. I was like waking up every day going like, all right, let's go. Like we're gonna have a good day. Any kind of like thought that was coming to my head, I was processing it, or I'd be like, that's not true. What? No. And like I would having like there's like a lawyer, a plaintiff and defendant thing, right? Like the prosecutor is saying one thing, but I'm the defendant going like, no, that's bullshit because of this, and this. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so like that's been like these past, I don't know, 4 months. That's what's been like my internal battle, is trying to get that defense lawyer back, trying to get the Johnny Cochran back in my head of just going like being like the ultimate lawyer in my brain and trying to get that back.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that moment of feeling like true happiness and realizing the difference of just being in a moment that makes you happy. Um, I had one of those realizations over something so trivial. You see all the time videos on TikTok that's like, here's your daily dose of serotonin, and it's always something like some cute animal video or something like that.
Yeah.
And there was one day I watched one of those videos and actually felt a change. I was like, this is what people without all of this trouble going on up here experience when they encounter these things that make other people feel happy under normal circumstances.
Yeah.
And that was another one of those like realizations I had where I went to my boyfriend and I was like, oh my God, this video made me so happy and I feel like stupid about
But you shouldn't. Like that's like
it.
but like that's like the beautiful thing. I remember I was reading a book and it's called like letting go, the pathway to surrender. And then this was like I had like this huge aha moment, right?
Hmm.
Um it was I was talking to somebody and they asked me, I don't know how it came up in discussion, but like me going to London, what came up in conversation and why I went, and which was like my dad always talked about it and somewhere I've always wanted to go. And then after my mom died, I needed to escape this prison cell that was my house. Um, and then so I just went, and then so I told him that story, and then it got me to like this point of I got sad about it because it just made me miss my parents, right?
Yeah,
And then in that moment, I told myself, I was like, hey, allow yourself to feel this, which is what that book is kind of guiding you to do. Like allow yourself to feel your emotions, and they will go away a lot quicker than
yeah,
if you try to be like, no, I don't want to deal with this right now. Because my first reaction was, no, I don't want to deal with this right now. I got to go to work. I got to
absolutely.
do this. I don't want to fucking deal with this right now, which
Even
is
if
I
you
still do in
don't
life.
have anything on your agenda for the day, dealing with that kind of feeling is not something you want to do ever. And that's one of the
100%.
things that I learned in therapy as well is like give yourself the credit of feeling your own feelings. Take a step back and realize that you are not your feelings. It's just something you're experiencing and that's temporary. And so
Exactly.
being able to take a step back in those situations where you're full panic mode or hit rock bottom and realize that this is just something you're going through, it's not who you are, was really powerful. And it's something so simple. It's something everybody can do.
No, 100%. And for me, it was I just told myself, hey, just allow it to happen. Be kind to yourself while it's happening. This is okay.
Yeah.
And
And
then
while you allow it to happen, be very cognizant of not letting it overtake you, because that's something else that can happen when you really dive into your feelings.
Oh, 100. I agree with you wholeheartedly. For me, it was like I was just very aware of how I was feeling. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, you're really sad right now. It's okay. You're allowed to be sad. Um,
Exactly.
and then I had like probably about like 2 hours later, I had this like overwhelming sense of peace and calmness and like kind of like
Yeah.
serenity. And I went, oh, this is what letting it go means.
Yeah.
And I went, fuck. And then from like then on, I was like, okay, I get it. It's clicking, it's clicking, it's clicking. And then I have a concussion. So it's probably all got knocked out of my brain at some point.
Right.
And I need to bring it back. And I'm working on trying to like bring it back. Like for me, it's I'm trying to get back to that headspace. Um, but yeah, and what you said is so on point and so beautiful. You mentioned earlier, like I wish I was on like these meds. I could have used them when I was like 16.
Yeah.
What was it about being at that age that was happening for you, do you think?
Oh, I mean, everyone loves high school, right?
It's the best.
So yeah, I was just dealing with a lot of issues with myself, and especially towards like discovering who I was as a young gay man, and just not being super proud of who I was or ready to tell anybody. That was all spiraling, as well as like just social things that were going on, bullshit people that don't mean anything to you later on in life. All
Yeah.
of it just kind of packs down on you. And when you're not equipped to deal with that mentally, and you have a chemical imbalance, it just makes everything so much harder. And I really wish I would have just given myself the credit of, you're an individual feeling your feelings, and it's okay if you need help, and to trust my parents and my doctor that were telling me, you could really benefit from being medicated, because I thought it was just like throwing a pill bottle on a problem to just like numb you, shut you up, and
Yeah.
send you on your way as like this like zombified human. And it's really not what it is, especially now. I mean, like, medication has come so far in
Oh,
even the past like
100%.
10 years. So yeah, I mean,
So
if you
when you
have
were,
access to it, I'm just the biggest advocate.
and I love that about you. So when you were in high school 10 years ago, I'm going to say
Yeah.
that. But I mean, when you were in high school, I mean, I can also understand the struggle of like, you said you're discovering yourself and you knew you were gay, but at that time, there's such like a stigma about that. Like,
Yeah.
there's the bullying that would come with it.
Right.
Um, what was that process like for you in terms of going from that to being able to come out? I've never asked you this. What was like your coming out story like, if you don't mind
I
my
have a
asking?
I have a really strange coming out story, honestly, on like every level. So my first kind of part of coming out, aside from the very, very few people I told um, in high school, um, in fact, I had a boyfriend in high school that most people didn't know about. I, at the time, sent a message to my sister that I
Oh,
forwarded a message to her instead of replying to said boyfriend that I had in high school back on MySpace, dating myself. My sister gets this message and sees the word boyfriend in it, and pulled me aside and was just like, hey, I don't think this was meant for me. And I just like, I wanted to die. Like, was on the spot, just wanted to combust.
yeah.
And she was like, no, it's okay. I probably knew before you did. And then it was just like everything was okay. And so I felt a little bit better, And because it's honestly, it's very hard to tell people that are important to you, especially people related to you that you have to see every day, that you live with. Because if there's this fear that if they don't take it the right way, your life is a living hell
Yeah.
from that point on. And for some people, that is the truth. And that is why that is so scary. Everybody has heard terrible coming out stories of like people being kicked out of their homes or beaten up or all of these really terrible things. And you never know if that's going to be you.
Yeah,
And
100%.
so getting that kind of like nudge from my sister and being like everything is okay made me feel so much better. I still didn't want to tell my parents about it, but but yeah, that was like the first step in like coming out, and it was completely by accident. And then I ended up telling my mother because she needed blood donors because she was having a surgery.
Oh.
And I had to explain to her why I was an ineligible blood donor because
Oh.
of the rules about um, gay men donating blood
Yeah.
and how we're absolutely like restricted from doing so. And so I had to tell my mother before I was ready to tell her. I was only like 17. And so that was a hard conversation. And she cried and I cried. And I didn't
Was she just like super pissed off she couldn't have your blood?
um I don't know. Like it was it was definitely awkward after. And it's not like I wanted my mom to wake up every day and be like, "How's my gay son today?" But I felt like there was a little uneasiness about it at
Yeah.
first. That is long since passed. It's gone. My family fully supports me, loves me, accepts me, and I love them for it. Very fortunate to have that. And the third level of my coming out story is probably the best part. So, again, on MySpace, I was contacted by a casting director on MTV to be
Ooh.
on a reality dating show called Parental Control. And I was like, what the hell? I'll do it. And I figured if you're going to be openly gay on television, that you should probably tell the rest of your family. So,
Probably. I don't know.
yeah. So that's
That
when
no,
dad,
that would be the most epic coming out story. Your dad's watching MTV and then he's like, "What?"
yeah. Although he would probably never be watching that show on his own, but I was surprised how often this topic came up after filming that show. It was like MTV always reruns these shows at like 3 o'clock in the morning, back to back to back. And I swear every time it reran, somebody new saw it and was like, "Is that you?" It's amazing.
You're like, "Yeah, you can't tell I look exactly the same."
Oh my gosh. I'll send you the picture after we're done.
Oh, we'll
I,
use it
I
we'll use it as the cover photo for this
sure.
episode.
This was before like streaming and screenshots, so I literally took a picture of my television at the time. So it's not the best quality, but I had this like emo kid like swoop bang like spiky thing happening.
So
Yeah,
like
it's
everybody did in like the early 2000s.
yep. I was very much that kid. Had my brown sweater vest on with a pink colored shirt underneath it.
Of course you did.
Uh
Of
huh.
course you did. That's
Yep.
so funny.
It's great.
That's so funny. So how did your dad take it?
Honestly, way better than I think my mom did. It was basically like, "You're happy, I don't care." So it's like,
Oh,
okay, that's the best I can ask for.
yeah, that is the best you can ask for. Because like,
Yeah,
like I have not from like my friends, but like I've heard I've heard the horror stories, and a lot of the times it is the dad who gets like the most pissed off or whatever. You
I
know what
was
I mean?
dreading it the most,
Yeah.
because there is this overwhelming like toxic masculinity like bullshit that's will be forever present, it seems. But
To an
that
extent,
is what
yeah.
it is. Yeah, and that's you like I said, you go in expecting the worst because you hear about these stories and you're never sure if it's going to be you, regardless of how you feel about your parents or how you think they feel about you. Before you tell them, you're still scared as shit to tell
Yeah.
anybody.
So,
So,
um, I think for me, like, because I had this like thought a little while ago, and this was also like before, like I talked to Michelle and everything. I was like, I have so many friends that are gay, but I have never once asked like what was coming out like for them because like I
mhm.
think I've never thought about having to like process that type of information. And
Yeah.
because to me, I was like, oh, you're gay, cool, like that's who you are. That's I accept you as that. Awesome. That's okay. That's just who you are. But I never thought
Hmm.
about like the coming out stories. It was always like I heard the horror stories, but I was like, oh, that's not them. That probably never happened to my friends. You know what I mean? And so like
Hmm.
that's why I went, oh, I should probably ask. Like I'm curious about these things. Like it'll help me get to know you better. And thank you for sharing that with me. The only like I think for me, because like my parents were usually pretty like accepting of anybody. They were also like judgmental towards some people, but um I guess since me doing theater in high school, that
Hmm.
really opened up my brain to a lot of different things because like I I was that kid who called things gay and I said fag a lot and all that stupid shit
We all did. I just as guilty.
because
And
I
part of that was kind of overcompensating for people to like not think I was gay. I would
yeah,
I would use words like that. So yeah,
but it wasn't
absolutely.
until like I went and I joined a theater and I went, oh, like it opened up my eyes to like a lot of things and opened up my eyes to like people with different stories, and that's like the beautiful thing about the arts and all those things. But I think like the only thing that like the biggest stigma that we ever had in my family was mental health because we just
Mm,
never talked about it. And
yep.
like I said the stories many a times, but like when I was in college I attempted um and I was gonna go through with it, but then I heard
Hmm.
my dad walking down the hall, like they were in the house. Like I was just going to go, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And then I heard him walking towards my room and I got scared. And then I had to go see a counselor at school. My parents still had no idea that I was doing this.
Yeah.
But like everyone at my school in college knew I was really like fucked in the head, right? And well they could tell something was really wrong, and then so like the chair of the department went like, hey man, like we care about you, we love you, I want to make sure
Yeah.
that you're good, we're gonna go walk and we're gonna go have a talk with like a counselor or whatever, right? And then I remember when I came home, it was like I sat my parents down to tell them, and like my mom cried because she was scared, and then my dad just went, what the fuck?
Wow.
He was like, why? He didn't really say what the fuck, but he was just like, why? Like,
Hmm.
you have everything. Why are you fucking depressed? Like, what do you have to be depressed about? Like, I don't.
Right.
And then honestly, like, my thought was to cure my depression was I need to lose weight. Like, it's because I'm fat that nobody likes me. It's
Hmm.
because I'm fat that I'm dealing with all these issues. So I need to change that. And then when I made that decision to do that, uh, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna figure all this out. And then I ended up like developing an eating disorder, going like, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not lean enough. And like you met me at Disney when I was at my leanest.
Hmm.
Like I had muscle and all that other stuff. I look back at those pictures now and I'm like, fuck, I can't believe I didn't think I was good enough then. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not lean enough. I need to work out harder. I need to do this, that, and the other because I didn't feel like accepted. And then the ironic weird thing about all that is that the weight I am now is the weight I was when I started to lose weight. I weigh the exact same.
Hmm.
but I look completely different.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, and in my head, I went, okay, I don't like this number. I just don't like this number. I know it's just a number, but I don't like this number. So I'm going to try to like lose some weight again.
Right.
But I was like, this time around, it's like, I'm going to be a lot kinder to myself about it versus like, I gotta get a six pack, and if I get six pack, I'll get bitches. You know what I like? That was kind of like the mindset. I was like, if I get a six pack, then people will find me desirable. That was my thing. I didn't feel like anybody
Yeah,
ever thought me desirable or like wanted to be with me. And I don't know if you have dealt with like those kind of like body insecurities yourself, but that was me like,
absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of it had to do with the um image that's projected, or at least used to be projected, of like the stereotypical gay was
mm,
like always like super chiseled and like, hairless from like the neck down, and that was just never me ever. Never me. And yeah, so a lot of that was really hard to swallow. Like, I don't look like this. I'm not going to be accepted by any of these people. I'm never going to find a partner. I'm never like, just one more thing after the other. I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to do this. All relating back to just like the way you feel about the way you look. And it's funny because I look at pictures from when I was like struggling with that then, and thinking like I was a lot more fit. I had more of a defined jawline. Like, what the hell was my problem?
yeah, like that's what's like crazy. Like, and it's a testament to you. I think it's more of like a testament to you now, where like you're like the way I see you as this person who is very confident within themselves, and you have like this kind, loving soul, and then what you're doing is that you're putting that onto yourself now, like you're loving yourself a lot more, and so it's
Yeah.
really interesting to be like, you look back at like those old pictures and be like, and what mindset you were in back then, and you
Hmm.
go, man, I wish like what I know now could be transferred to then,
Yep.
because like you're going like, you had it, what the fuck, like it's okay, and then like now
Yeah.
now it's like I don't look like that now, but it's not, but you're like, I like myself a lot better now, so that's like
Right.
that's like the huge bonus of it, you know what I mean? You're like, oh well, I may not look like that, but I actually like myself now. That nobody liked me because I didn't like me. At least that's how my head was. It's like nobody liked me,
Speak
nobody
for
wanted me.
yourself. Everyone loved me. No, just
That's
kidding.
true. No, that is true. Everyone fucking did love you. Are you kidding me? My favorite story, and again, I've said this story a million times on this podcast, was I remember you told me we were up at scheduling, and like you told me like how much you loved me, and I was like, I wish it was a choice. And you went, Andre, if you ever fucking came out, we would throw you a
Throw you a
parade.
parade.
And I was like, so I remember you told me, I was actually really taken aback because I was like, a parade? What? I was like, I felt like so, I guess, honored or flattered. Flattered would probably be the better word. But I was like, because like
That's
I
what
did,
my people do best, are parades.
tis true, tis true. Um, but yeah, or like that's like, like my first TikTok I ever made. I made a joke where I was like, I became friends with gay men because I was hoping that they would introduce me to their hot single lady friends, but they all ended up, introducing me to their hot single gay friends, and I was okay with it because they all just kept telling me I'm pretty. And then that's why like, that's why I find like homophobia like really silly in my opinion, because I'm like, for me, I always think that like if a gay man's hitting on you or he's complimenting you, he's not lying. Like it's the most honest thing. It's the most honest compliment you're ever gonna fucking get. Because if you look
Right.
good, you're gonna be told you look good. If you look like shit, then you're not gonna say anything, or they'll be like, "We're gonna we should fix this.
And I swear it's always those like worst trolls that are just like, none of that gay shit now. Don't you look at me. Like,
Well,
we're not. It's okay.
so I had a discussion. I met a guy and like, talking to him like, cool, everything's great. And then he like then like I heard some of his homophobia come out
Mm,
and he was like, yeah, my girlfriend's got like a gay best friend. I don't like that dude. And I was like, why? Because like he keeps like trying to compliment me or like he got mad one day where he suggested that he try on a different shirt because it would look that color would look better on him. Right. And then I busted that out and I was like, dude, he's not trying to hit on you. He's not trying to fuck you. He's just giving you a compliment. It's okay. And
he's
then I
trying
was
to
like,
dress you up for his friend. Like,
yeah, no, that too. And I was like, bro, if he's telling you you look good, take that as a compliment because he's not lying. He's
yeah.
not lying about it. He's not saying it just to say it. And then he cracked up. And then like the thing that this guy's cut my hair a few times. And like every time I go in, he's like, so what are we doing today? And I'm like, I don't know, just make me man pretty. Because I'm literally just going like, I'm just literally going like, bro, I'm gonna break this down. I'm gonna break this out of you because like I'm pretty open with who I am. I know I know who I am like sexually and all that stuff. So like that shit doesn't bother me, especially like
Yeah.
I have my degrees in theater and I worked at Disneyland. Like
Right.
if that doesn't tell you that I'm really comfortable in my skin in terms of like I know I'm straight. I don't need to. I don't have any. I don't need to. Even if somebody questioned it, I'd be like, all right, cool. I don't care if you're questioning it. I know who I am. Um, and so I'm like, I'm gonna break this down on you a little bit. Let's just chisel away and let's be a little more accepting right now.
It's interesting that someone can come up to the world of cosmetology and kind of have that outlook because I'm
Oh
sure they encountered their fair
no,
share of
so
homosexuals.
no. He went to barber school. Like he went to barber school, which is different. And
Okay.
then if you like his background, it's honestly like it's really rough. He has a really rough upbringing involved with gangs, being homeless. He may have gone to jail a couple of times. And he was just really he started doing this because I just want to clean up my life and change. And he's
Mm.
like, I was tired of living that way. And so like if you look at it from like that perspective, he's fucking come such a long way. And it's
Yeah.
amazing. And he's trying to be like, you know, I've never seen him be mean to anybody, and I know he could be if he wanted to be. Um, but there's
He just has his opinions. He has his ways.
no, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He has his what he was brought up as. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Or like those like set in mind, and like I said, I did too, and I've you know learned to let other people's stories or let other people's experiences really kind of like open up my eyes to things, and I try not to look at things like there's so it's everything's just black and white. Everything to me is kind of gray. You can look at one side of people's arguments and I'd be like, okay, but there's this other side and there's a reason why
Hmm.
other people think a certain way. And like one of the things that frustrates me with nowadays is everything has to be like you're either believe this or fuck off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that that does more damage than good. Because like, I know plenty of people that I disagree with on many of things, but I still think they're a good person overall. And
Right.
or like
One
I
issue does not define a human.
yeah, and even though like you may look at like certain issues where you're like, how the fuck are you still defending this or whatever? You just to me it's like, okay, well, there's still like there's a core belief that was instilled in them, and and it's not our job to make people change or our job to make people try to see things differently. It's for me, this is me and this is how I try to view things. I try to look at it just like, if the only thing I can do is share my experiences and hope that they have an aha moment or something just clicks and they go, oh, I get it now.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of the times, like people aren't really listening to one another anymore. It's always just turns into like this like yelling match between
Sure.
people.
Yeah. It's just immediately defensive.
Yeah, 100%. Um, can I just tell you how much I fucking love you?
I love you too.
No, I know that came out of nowhere. That came out of fucking left field. But I want to give you I really want to give you your flowers. I mean, I've known you for probably almost 10 years now,
Yeah,
going on
easily
like
10.
11. Yeah.
Hmm.
And every time that I see you or talk to you and it's never enough, I always get overwhelmed with like joy. I always get really happy to see you. I get always really happy to talk to you and give you a hug. And I always feel like we have these great conversations. And it's like no matter how long it's been since we've seen each other, it's
We always
like
just pick right back up.
it's the
No
next
time has
day.
passed. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I feel the same.
Um, and I remember that day that I randomly hit you up to go to Laguna. I was having a really rough go of it. I was having anxiety. And I was just like, I want to escape. But I was also like, I'm really shitty about reaching out to people. And so like that was like a big step to be like, oh, I wonder what Alex is doing as I'm literally leaving my house to like go down there. And it was just like and it was like one of those like as soon as I did it, it felt I was like, okay, I did like the right thing.
Yeah.
And um yeah, I just want to say thank you for being you. You're such an amazing human being. And again, your hair is fabulous as always. Oh, I guess we should get so when I said at the beginning of the podcast, like this is the artist formerly known as Air Force One. That was his nickname at Disney.
Right.
How did you and I know and my assumption was, oh, it's because he has really fabulous hair, but who gave you the name Air Force One? Do you know?
I don't remember the first time I heard it. Um, yeah, I really don't know where it came from. And I just remember um, Cassie really embraced it. And our area manager, Juliana, really embraced it. And it just became this like thing. Um,
I think Cassie's the one who told me it.
yeah, she definitely popularized it.
It's so funny. Because yeah, like when I said the first time I heard it, I went, it makes sense. This makes sense. So for any of you who aren't watching this on YouTube, go to YouTube and just check out the fabulous hair. It's putting him on the spot, and he's blushing like a motherfucker right now,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's great.
always.
um, I can't thank you enough for doing this, Alex. Like I said earlier in the podcast, I had no idea where this conversation was going to go, and I'm literally sitting here going like, wow, that was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, it was
It,
cool. I've never had the opportunity to do anything like this before, so I really appreciate it. It was fun.
so since you're really big on trying to end the stigma of medications, how are
Hmm.
you feeling now being on them, and like what piece of advice can you like give to people who are kind of on the fence about it?
Yeah, definitely. If you're on the fence about it, talk to a healthcare professional about it. Even if you don't have a psychiatrist, even if you're not in therapy, um, there are some really well received medications that work for a lot of people that a primary care professional can get you started with. And, just be sure to address how you're feeling. And that's the most important thing is really don't just like continue to settle for what you're used to because it really can change your life. And not that they aren't without their fair share of side effects, not that it's not a journey to find what works better for you, but the end result is just 100% worth it.
I love that. And again, I love you for being here and saying that. And as I tell everybody to always be kind to yourselves, maybe doing this is a form of being kind to yourself because you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Being kind to yourself is really hard. It seems like such a silly concept, but it's so important.
Yeah, it always sounds so fucking simple, and it's like it's not. It's one of the most difficult things to do. And
Hmm.
again, thank you guys so much. Thank you all for watching, and if you're listening, thank you. If you can please just be a friend and tell a friend, spread the word about the podcast, this episode specifically, because I think this is a very special one that we're having tonight. Not the other 19 episodes weren't, but this one like has been really awesome. And yeah, as always, be kind to yourselves and be good. Oops, I hit the wrong thing.